I'm sitting here this morning and I'm very moved because I just kind of remembered, all this long journey that I've been going through. Let me start from the beginning. My name is Devorah. I'm a compulsive overeater and food addict, and a just full-blown addict in everything in my life. And I just want to pray very quickly and ask God to just help me just illuminate his light and love and to just speak my truth and to put myself aside pretty much. Thanks. Um, yeah, I've been in program for I guess it's coming up to 12 years already. Um, and been quite a very bumpy ride for me. I always envy those people that say, yeah, I came in, was abstinent and life, whatever. Not so much my story. So I came in with the gift of desperation after years of thinking it was, if I just lose a couple of pounds, I'll be fine. And I just knew that it wasn't normal, the relationship I had with food. I didn't know it was an addiction in the beginning. It was just like, I'll just have to lose a few kilograms and I'll be fine. And then it was up and down, because that doesn't help an addict, right? Like just going to another diet club and another diet club. Um, and I remember sitting in one of the diet clubs, the last one before reaching OA, and saying to myself, and actually saying out loud, I actually had two friends there and said to them, I don't understand why they keep talking to us about calorie intake, outtake, this, or that. Why don't they talk about like my emotional eating and why I can just like wolf down crazy amounts of whatever in my pantry or in my fridge and they didn't know the answer. I don't know if they were necessarily addicts, so they probably didn't know what I was talking about. But I was very upset to learn that there's something very wrong with me and I just don't know what it is. And I'm talking about a very young age of being just obsessed with the food all the time. When am I going to eat it? And then if I was restricting, then it was like, what am I not going to eat and how many? And then it was like, those diet clubs, right? You go in and you lose whatever, a few 100 grams a week or not, or sometimes, and it was just like, it consumed me all the time. Wherever I was at work, I remember there was the kitchen and, she used to buy all these treats. And then it was like, or I don't touch the treats because I'm on a diet, or I would eat so many of them because, I couldn't stop. I'm sure that's familiar to some of you. Um, and and this beautiful friend of mine 12 stepped me into the program without ever being in the program, which is very interesting. By the way, God has a great sense of humor. She's actually my sponsee today after all these years, which is really interesting. Um, and she's just, her journey is beautiful. And it just, she said to me, she was talking about another 12-step program, that the substance of that program really scared me. And I said, yeah, I'm not that bad. She gave me some literature. And then she said, there's same program for food. You should go. I don't have the courage. Go. I was like, okay, whatever. So I went, totally hated it for the first time. It was like, what is this? Who are these people? I'm not part of these people. Of course, the gift of desperation, right? So I kept coming back every single week. It was a Friday morning meeting and I drove about an hour away and I just kept coming back because even though I hated it, I knew that I don't know if I didn't want it yet. So I think I needed it, right? It was like, this is what I need. The diets don't work. I'm sick and tired of just, also, I forgot to say that I did contemplate suicide a few times. Thank God I didn't have the courage to try. Thank God. I'm so blessed that I was just, you know, that I was too cowardly to try anything because I just couldn't live my life anymore. And I knew that it was totally screwed up, that, food is ruling my life. Um, so I got into the program and I got a sponsor right away, people pleaser that I was. And God bless that woman. She really cracked the whip with me. Um, wow. It was like, you have to do this, you have to do that. And I was like totally resentful. If I was doing step 10s at that point in my life, I would probably do a step 10 on her every single day because I was really resentful with all the homework she gave me to do. But bless her, she taught me journaling, even if it's 5 minutes a day or even 3 minutes a day. And she really, really taught me like the tools of the program and about abstinence and about a higher power. Um, wasn't quite abstinent all the time. It was like on and off, like the merry-go-round. I went on, I got off. I went on, I got off because I think I wasn't ready yet. I wasn't willing. to give up the food yet. I hadn't reached that point yet. And I had all these excuses of I'm busy and this and that, and I'm a mom and I have young children and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not saying that it's not hard with certain, circumstances in life. I'm just saying that they were all excuses. But on the other hand, if I reframe that thought a bit, I think it sustained me for many years. And I was ready to take the plunge many years later to really put my program, you know, and to really put me first in my program first, right? Not everybody else in work and kids and husband and life and whatever. Um, and and yeah, it was a slow journey. So I went through the steps, got stuck on 4 for a very long time. Um, my sponsor wanted us to meet face to face, and she was very busy, bless her, and I was very busy. And she said, "No, we can't do it on phone." That wasn't Zoom yet those days, I don't think. She said, "No, not by phone. We only have to meet." So we met, and I don't know why it took so long. I mean, these days I do step 4s a little faster. I'm not sure exactly. I guess we went through each person very thoroughly in each organization. And I got stuck on 4 or 5, I guess, right? Because I was already giving it over. So, and then I don't know, I can't, the timelines for me are very fuzzy, but like I was there for quite a long, at least a couple of months. And then I met someone else that I thought that she would probably be better for me as a sponsor, but I didn't have the courage to let my current sponsor go because I didn't know how to handle a conversation like that. So I just kind of left it hanging for a while, and then I said to her, I think I need something different. And she was very loving. I still send her a message once in a while because I will always be grateful to that woman who just kind of like tolerated me with all my questions and everything else that you know, I wasn't willing. And now I laugh about it, but I must have been a pain in the, never mind. Anyway, um, so, and then with this sponsor, things were a little more, I went through the steps again. She said, "Fine, I don't care that you're on 5. You have to do everything again." I was like, "Oh no." But you know what? That was good for me because I was already on the next level of, okay, so I'm doing this. And we went through the workbook. Um, and we had set times, which I didn't really have with my first sponsor. So that was really good for me. I remember the reluctance of picking up the phone before calling her. I was like, oh, I need to go to I have to call my sponsor now. I think it was like a 3 times a week kind of thing. That was the commitment. Um, but slowly, slowly but surely, I was getting there. Again, abstinence for me was on and off, on and off, on and off. Um, and and one day I was really upset about probably picked up the food. Yeah, I picked up the food and I was very upset. This is fast forwarding a couple of years. And my sponsor said something like, there are a lot of Zoom meetings. You don't have to wait. I don't even know if the Friday must have been already COVID. So I wasn't, my meeting anyway it already turned into a Zoom meeting. So she said, there are a lot of meetings online. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. Stop with a pity party and pick up a Zoom meeting. And I was like, I don't know. She's like, go into the website, just find something. Um, so I did, and I found this meeting, which I will be forever grateful for. Um, so yeah, so I plugged into this meeting, and I was like, wow. And that's when I was ready to really dig deeper. Um, I switched sponsors again, or I think my sponsor, maybe she was having some kind of difficulties, and she said, like, I really can't sponsor you anymore. And I remember like feeling, oh my God, like I don't have anybody to guide me. But higher power has, other plans, obviously. And I was already deep into the meeting. So I spoke to someone and she became my sponsor. And she really taught me um, what it means to connect with a higher power. So from that place of total hopelessness and powerlessness, um, to really to really have a relationship with that higher power, which today, honestly, don't tell my husband, is probably the best relationship of my life. He doesn't talk back. No, I'm kidding. But like when I'm willing to tap into that relationship and to really trust my higher power, um, higher power, God, for me, it's the same thing. Then my life is better because I always forget that I don't have to control everything. If it could be my food, it could be something with my children, it could be something. I'm in a transition of work and I'm like terrified of what the heck am I doing anyway? And I keep bringing myself back to, okay, you pray and you take the next right action. You
Minutes.
pray and you take the next right action. Thanks. And that's it. There's nothing else. I don't have to figure everything out by myself, which I always thought the world was on my shoulders, right? Um, I didn't do a very good job of that, by the way. So if the world was on my shoulders, the world would probably be extinct. Everyone in it would be extinct because I couldn't handle it anyway. Could hardly handle my own life. I mean, my best thinking brought me where to my food addiction, which really, really made me not present in my life. Um, and lost my train of thought. In the meantime, I'll tell you something funny that happened yesterday. Um, my daughter, I was sitting on the terrace, and my daughter came out and she said to me, "What are you reading?" And she's like, "Oh, you're reading your meeting book." She said, "I remember you reading that book." She's talking about the big book. She said, "I remember you reading that book when I was a kid. How long did it take you to read that book anyway? You read books really fast. I don't understand why it's taking you forever to read that book." And I thought that, first of all, that was hilarious. So I burst out laughing, and I said to her, it's a book about Alcoholics Anonymous, and you know that mommy is a food addict, and we spoke about it for a few minutes, and she was like, yeah, and I said to myself, wow, like for me to talk about my food addiction so openly, and for her to accept that's amazing, isn't it? 'Cause I used to be so ashamed. I remember when I used to go to the meetings every Friday morning, I remember my son used to ask me, like, where are you going? And what is that place you go to? And you don't want, because I was very ashamed then of my food addiction. So I used to tell him, yeah, I go somewhere, whatever. He thought I was in the FBI or something, right? And I was like, no, I'm sorry. Your mom is not. I know you're disappointed, but I'm not. It's a meeting. Oh, I thought it was something better. He was so disappointed. He thought it would be something like really cool, and it ended up to be something not cool at all, but whatever. Anyway, so I've come a really long way with that, and even telling people that I'm in Overeaters Anonymous is something that I used to keep very close to the vest. And now it's like, yeah, I tell a lot of people. I don't necessarily, paste it, put it anywhere on social media, on the billboards, but like, I feel that it has helped my life immensely in so many ways that I am not ashamed of this anymore. Like, I think it's actually the best thing that happened to me, which used to really piss me off at meetings when people used to say, I'm a grateful compulsive reader. I was like, no, I'm not grateful. I hate this thing. I hate coming to meetings. I hate having to do the steps. I have so much homework, and I have to do this and I have to do that, and I hate this. And it took me, I don't know, at least 9, 10 years maybe in program. I'm a slow learner, but I accept myself with love today about that. To really say that, because now that I have this program, it has actually helped me immensely in my life, right? So every time something comes up, it's like, okay, like, what do I need to do? Is there an action to take? No, then I'm praying. Praying is also an action. Is there an action to take? Yes, I'm praying, which is an action, and I'm also taking the action. So it's like, it just simplifies, because my brain goes into that washing machine mode of, what am I going to do? What's going to happen? How, and then catastrophizing. And then everything is like, oh my God, goes into that crazy mode. And yeah, that nothing comes out of that. Like the worrying and that's just, it's a useless, I don't even know if it's an action exactly. I don't know, maybe worrying is a verb. I'm not sure, but like nothing comes out of that. So I say to myself, okay, let's put the worry into prayer. And if it's a fear, I can do a step 10. And if there's a resentment somewhere there, then I can also do a step 10. By the way, I pitched for step 10s. For years, I kind of flirted with it and didn't really want to do them and whatever, didn't want to make the commitment. And only in the last, I don't know, couple of months, I have a step 10 buddy. So that for me, it's a commitment. So it's I'm on it. So is there something happening here? Okay, stop, step 10, right? And if I don't have the time to do the whole, you know, I'll just stop really quickly and say, okay, I don't have the time, but I will acknowledge it for a second. I'll pray really quickly, I'll do something, and then I can tend to it later, right? I don't have to be perfect in this program. And I'm far from it anyway, right? Like sometimes I used to tend to put people on a pedestal and say, like, oh my God, this person's recovery is like the best in the world. And like, what does that mean anyway? First of all, that's probably not true, because I don't know everything that's happening in that person's life. And second of all, who says we have to be perfect? It's me thinking that she has to be perfect. I have to be perfect. Everybody has, no, I am so far from that. But I am working my program, trudging along, this journey, which is, it really is the best way to live a life. which, thank you. Thanks, acknowledged. I'm not saying that one has to be a food addict to be able to handle their life. Some people can figure it out themselves. Wonderful. I needed that. I needed the food addiction to actually help me find my higher power and an actual relationship with a higher power. Because in the beginning, I looked on the wall. It had the steps at the meetings, and I said to myself, God, what is God anyway to me? Well, me and God, we're fine. I'm observing my religion, whatever. And I thought that, I had a great relationship with God, but apparently I didn't. I didn't really have a relationship with God. It was just like, it was like a to-do list. What do I have to do in order to be a good girl? And God will bless me if I'm good, and if not, he'll zap me. And that was like, that 4 or 5 year old conception of God, that went with me for quite a lot of years, um, until I was ready to find, another conception of God. And I remember hearing somewhere in one of the meetings when someone said, like, you don't like that God? Well, fire that God and hire a new one. I was like, I didn't know that was possible. Can I fire God? If I fire God, is he gonna kill me like now? So yeah. And also another thing about, like maturing in this program, like emotionally, I remember reading somewhere in one of the stories that, I stayed 5 years old for many years of my life, and maybe I'm up to 12 now. That really resonates with me. Like on certain, like for years, I remember feeling
Mhm.
like a little child, really.
That's time.
That's time, like time. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm just saying that this program, if it worked for me, it will definitely work for you. If you're new, stick around. If you're not new but still struggling, stick around. If I did it and I'm doing it, I didn't arrive yet. Maybe one day. Um, then I definitely can. Thank you all, and I am very, very grateful for you all. Have a beautiful day.